Hello, welcome to my video. Today I'm here to tell you dreams that I've had that I don't think are God related but are still very interesting. Also, good morning, because it's currently like 9 something, so good morning. But yeah, I'm just here to tell you dreams that are interesting, but I don't think these are really God related, but they're still very interesting. But yeah, hope you enjoy my dreams and you can comment down below which one is your favorite. But yeah, let's get into it. So, also, I want to mention Happy Sabbath because yesterday was Sabbath, so happy late Sabbath. So, the first dream I'm going to be telling, I'm just grabbing something off the ground. This is my sister's. My sister has, I don't even know, are these called like an RC helmet? Or I don't even know really what these are called, but yeah, my sister has one of these, and the reason I'm showing it to you is because I had a dream about them. Like I was saying, even though I don't think these are God related, they could be, and I could just be missing something. But yeah. So yeah, I had a dream about RV helmets, whatever they're called, and I'm here to tell it to you. So in this dream, I was in a lab, and I was teaching. I was supposed to be testing out. I mean, not teaching. I was supposed to be testing out an RC helmet. That's what I was supposed to be doing. So the goal was they were gonna put a helmet on me, and they were supposed to make me believe that this was reality. That was the goal. They were supposed to make me believe that this helmet was reality. And I'm just kind of like, I don't think this is like how it was. I was like, I don't think I'll believe this is reality, because I'm like, I can see you putting the helmet on me, and I know like I'm when to take it off and stuff, don't I? I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna believe this is reality. So I put the helmet on, and I'm in a boxing match, which I'm like is kind of weird because I'm not really into boxing, but that's where I was. So in my dream, I ended up leaving the boxing match because I'm like I'm not really into boxing. Like there's no point in being here. So I leave, and then when I left outside, I can see the lab. And the lab, there was like aliens coming out of it. And my sister was there, and she was like, "Yeah, the lab accidentally had an experiment go wrong, and now there's these alien creatures coming out of it." And I didn't have really any weapons or anything on me, so I decided just to run for it, because I'm like, what else am I going to do? I don't really have any weapons or anything on me. I'm just going to run for it, you know? You know? So I'm just like running, and then I run into my other sister. This is a different sister. I run into my other sister, and she tells me, I'm like, what are you doing here? And she says, oh, I was with you in the lab because during the experiment you had to stay at the lab. You couldn't leave, and I just didn't want you to be by yourself. And now that these alien creatures are coming, we just need to run for it. And I was like, yeah, we really need to find shelter. So I'm like, we need to find shelter. And then in my dream, I realized this. I'm like, wait. I'm still wearing the helmet, aren't I? So this whole time I was trying to like protect my family, trying to find shelter. I was freaking on the VR headset. This whole time, I was trying to like protect my family. I was trying to like find shelter. I was on the freaking headset thing the whole time. So in my dream, when I realized I was still wearing the headset, it said this like kind of screen popped up, and it was like, "Do you want to exit?" And of course I said yes, and I ended up taking them off. And when I took them off and I was back in the lab, I was just like so mad. Like I was like mad and sad. I was like, so the whole time I thought I was helping my family and all this, it was just the headset. And they're like, yep. And I was just kind of mad and sad because I really thought that was reality. I really thought it was. And it just turned out to be the headset. And they were like, well, at least the excitement worked. And I was like, yeah, it worked. I really thought that was reality. And like she shook my hand, and I was just kind of mad because I really thought that was reality. And that was the whole dream. That was the whole dream, but it's very interesting because like I really thought it was like reality. Like it was just crazy. I had that dream last night, and that was really what set off me making this video, because I had that dream last night. I have more dreams to tell in this video. So, yeah, the next dream I plan to tell is pretty long, but very, very interesting. Like, this dream that I had, my mom actually told me to make it into a book. Like, it's that interesting. So, here's the dream. So in this dream, there was this girl. So in this dream, I wasn't really in it. I was just kind of like watching it happen. Yeah, weird. So in this dream, there was a girl, and she was in a library. Oh, and I'd like to mention this dream was a little over a year old. But yeah, I'll just continue. So there was this girl, and she was in a library. And as she was in this library, she accidentally time traveled to back into like where there was back in time to where there was like cowboys and stuff. And when she got there, she was like kind of confused because she was like, how the heck did I get here? Like she was looking around and she's like, this definitely ain't the library. She was like, this definitely ain't the library. And she was looking around and it was like everything was like old timey. Like, you know, like I said, it was back with like cowboys and just stuff like that. And everything was just like old timey. And she just didn't really understand. So after a little bit of looking around, she realized, she was like, I'm not in like my present time. She realized this. She's like, I'm not in my present time. So then she sat down at this bench and there was a couple of cowboys in front of her and they're playing like poker or something. And she was just kind of shocked. She was like, I don't know how the heck I traveled back in time. But for one, she was certain that she wasn't in her time. And so she started like looking around and she didn't have a job. She didn't really have anything. And so she decided after some time being there, she ended up really liking it there because she was just thinking, she was like, nobody's on their phone. She was just saying stuff like that. She was like, no, sorry. I looked over there because I heard kind of weird noise. But my family's upstairs, so that's probably all I'm hearing. But yeah, after some time, she just like really enjoyed being in the old time because she realized that nobody was like on their phone, that like people actually had conversations. And she was like, in the future, everyone was just on their phone and like you could never have an actual conversation with someone. And but back in time, phones were invented yet. And she just thought it was so cool. Like you can actually have a conversation and didn't have to worry about someone getting on their phone and whatnot. So since she didn't have a job or money or anything, she decided that she would open a bakery because she knew recipes from like in the future, and she knew that those recipes hadn't been invented yet, and she knew that people might like them. So she opened a bakery, and in this bakery she was selling stuff, and then after like a week or two, she had changed her name. I should have mentioned this. She changed her name to like Betty because she wasn't sure really what was going on and if she really time traveled, and she just didn't know if it was a good idea to say her real name. So she changed her name to Betty. And in my dream, a cowboy walked into her bakery and said, and this is what he like said. He was like, "Hey, people are saying your baked goods are really good, and I was just like wondering if I could have some for my party." And he ended up inviting her to the party. So she ended up becoming really close with this cowboy. Like she ended up becoming like, really close with him, and she decided that she would go to the party. So like a week later, she went to the party with this cowboy. Like I said, she became really close with, and she was dancing at the party. And then during the party, a little after the party, she ended up time traveling back to her original time. Crazy plot twist. Yeah, she ended up time traveling back to her present time, her original time. And what's crazy, I'm not even finished with the craziest part. When she time traveled, she was pregnant with the cowboy's kid. Dun dun dun, dun dun dun. Yeah, she was pregnant with the cowboy's kid. But she was back in her present time, still pregnant, I will say, still pregnant. And so she didn't know what to do, and she was just really, really upset. Like, she was, like, crying. She was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. She was like, I want to be back in the old times because she loved it there so much better. And so, since she was there, she ran and she went to find a history book because she's like, if I really was there, I really did go back in time, I'd be in a history book probably. So she like dug and dug and dug until she found a history book, and she found herself in the history book. But like I said, remember, she did change her name. So in the history book, she was Betty. And so it said, this is what it like said in the history book. It said, Betty, she was a really good person. She made some really good food. But one day, after like 40 years, she just disappeared, and no one heard from her again. Yeah, it was crazy. She was back, and like, because when she first time traveled, she was only like 19. I probably should mention that. When she first time traveled, she was only like 19, 20. So when she came back, she was 19. She was like 19, 20 again. I'm just saying that because it never said her age in my dream, but I could tell she was like 19, 20. Yeah, and the book just said she was here for like 40 years, and then one day she disappeared, and she got really close with this one cowboy, and one day she disappeared and no one heard from her again. That's what it said. And it was just crazy. Yeah, my mom told me to turn that was the whole dream. I'm sorry, that was the whole dream. My mom told me to turn that one into a book. So, yeah, I might do that. I don't know. I might turn it into a book one day. Honestly, I don't know. But yeah, very interesting. that was the whole dream, and I just thought it was so weird that how when she time traveled back to original time, she was still pregnant with his kid. And I remember in the dream, she was really concerned. She was like, I can't go to a hospital or anything because they're gonna question why she had DNA from a guy that's like 1,000,000 years old. Okay, it wasn't 1,000,000, but it was a long time ago. I know that. And she just didn't want them questioning why her son or girl had DNA from like a really long time ago, like from a cowboy a really long time ago. And she just didn't want them to question and like, you know. So it was a really interesting dream. That dream is like a little over a year old, but still very interesting. I will say, very interesting. So, I'm gonna tell you another dream I had. This dream, I will warn you. I'm like warning because this dream is a little bit on the creepier side, but I don't know. I'm still gonna tell it. This will probably be the last dream for this video, but yeah, these are dreams that I've had that aren't God related, but I still think are pretty interesting. So this dream, there was this girl. She was at a grocery store, and in this grocery store, this boy walked up to her. He looked to be maybe 6, maybe 8, and it didn't seem like anyone was around him really, and she was just kind of concerned because she's like, no one's gonna leave a 6 or possibly 8-year-old by himself in a grocery store. So the boy ends up like walking up to this lady, and she's like, are you okay? She's like, where's your mom and dad? And it was like he was afraid. It was like she was. Hold on. My mom's calling me. Let me go see what she wants. Okay, I'm back. But like I was saying, she was just concerned because she's like, no one's gonna leave an 8 or 6-year-old by themselves. So the boy comes up to her, and he's like, not wanting to talk to her, like he's scared to tell her what's happening. I mean, I wouldn't really want to tell a stranger if I was in danger. Would you? I don't know. I might. I don't know, honestly. I've never really been in that situation. But yeah, it was like he was scared to tell her what was happening. So she decides, because she can't find like any mom or dad figure or sister or brother to like come get him, she decides that she would just take him to her house. Because I'm not going to leave the 6, 8-year-old by himself. And she didn't see like any parent or sister figure around him. So, and he wasn't willing to talk and tell her what's happening. All she knew is that this kid was like scared. So she takes the kid to her house. And she takes the kid to her house, and he's like kind of wanting to tell her, but still like won't tell her really what's going on. And all he really says, he just says like, my father. And she's like, what about your father? And he just doesn't want to tell her. So, she just decides to like try to get him to talk, but not like, like not beg him to tell her. So, she starts to hear banging on the door, and then the kid just says, he's like, oh no, that's my father. And she's like, your father? And like she just didn't understand why he was so scared of his father. Because like you can be scared of your father, but this was like a next level scared. Like he gonna kill you scared. So he's like, that's my father. And it was like the door was locked, and she just hears banging on the door. And like she goes to kind of open it, and he's like telling her like, don't open the door. And then she's like, okay, because she doesn't really know what's happening, and she just like wants to be safe. And so she's like, well, we can hide in my bedroom, because the bedroom was the farthest away from the front door. So they go to her bedroom, and they decide to hide in the closet. So they're hiding in the closet, and he finally tells her, he's pointing at his mouth. Yeah, in my dream, he was pointing at his mouth. And she's like, what about your mouth? Like, she's confused, like, what about your mouth? And he just finally tells her, he's like, I'm a vampire. Yeah, I don't know why I would dream this. And she's like, what? You're a vampire? Like, she doesn't want to believe him. She's like, you're making this up. He's like, no, I'm really a vampire. So then he tells her this story of how about like 500,000 years ago, a vampire bit another vampire, and he became really powerful. And he's like, it's really, really frowned upon in my culture. But he's like, my dad been waiting because you don't get your fangs until you're like 10 years old. That's what he was saying. He's like, I'm about to be 10 years old. And he was like, you don't get your fangs until you're 10 years old. And he was showing her that his fangs had already started growing in. And he's like, my dad wants to bite me. And then she's like, well, what's so bad about biting you? He's like, when a vampire bites another vampire, it kills the person he bit. And that's why it's so frowned upon in our culture. And she's like, And she's like shocked and doesn't know if to believe him or not. Like she's like shocked, doesn't know if to believe him. And then she just says, "Well, if your dad really is a vampire, as you claim, he's like, do you know any way we could possibly get away from him?" And he just tells her this. He said, "Well, he's like, all I know is that vampires rely mostly on smell." He's like, the vampires can't see that good, so they rely mostly on smell. He's like, if we hide in the closet in her clothes and stuff, we might be able to hide from my dad. So before he hide in the closet, because they could kind of hear like his father coming, she decides to call 911 and be like, "There's a vampire." Like, what would you do if someone called 911 and said there's a vampire? I honestly don't know. So they're hiding in like the clothes because they like the kid told her. He said that vampires have bad eyesight, so he might not be able to see us if he mixes in with the clothes in her closet. So his dad comes and he walks in the closet and he walks in the closet and then he walks out and luckily he did not see him. And then the cops show up. And he's on the roof of their house at this point. He's on the roof of the house. And he turns into a bat and flies away. And he's like, "I'll be back for you, son." And that was it. That was the whole dream. Very weird and random. I don't know why I would have a vampire dream, but very weird and random, in my opinion. Well, those are all the dreams I'm going to be telling for now. Whichever one's your favorite, you can comment below. But I guess, bye for now. Thanks for watching.